Welcome back, my Duelist friends. Casual Duelist here. It's another Monday, which means another Edison build. And as promised, everything moving forward is original. That said, one of the first comment requests was how would I tackle a pure-ish Gravekeeper build within the Edison format? This is an easy one for me to answer because I was still playing around with my Gravekeepers back then. So, let's get the non-keepers out of the way real quick, right? So before I show you Gale, this is a 41 card main deck. I'm not going to give you guys a side deck, but I'm going to give you guys one option that really worked out well for me. And then I'm going to give you guys the extra deck as I have it built, and then tell you the one card that needs to swap for the way I want it to be. Okay, that's it. Gale the Whirlwind, first card of the deck. Mostly because alphabetics. Second, he's going to be the only tuner I'm going to main. Most of the time when we play our synchro plays, we are playing based off of what our opponent has, or if we've decided to add other tuners to the side deck. And again, that's up to each individual duelist. I want you guys to use this deck more as a guideline, not as this is the absolute. So again, Gale, great one of. For that time or any time. Next up, Gores. Again, Gore's Emissary of Darkness, really putting in work back then. It could take you from having nothing on your side of the field to at least having this plus token or plus damage. Could turn the tide of the combat for you. Now, everything else from here on in is going to be a Gravekeeper, and for why. So the first one, I've always loved the Gravekeeper's Assailant. I love this thing back in Go format. I love this thing in Reaper format. And I still show much love to the Assailant when it comes to the Edison format because the battle switch-up effect is so darn good. Now, go over the field spell real quick. The thing that you need to know is that Necrovalley is going to give everybody a 500 by 500 bonus if you are a Gravekeeper. So, if you can keep that in mind, all you need to know is that this card is 2,000 by 2,000 and 4 stars back then. Now, when this one declares an attack while Necrovalley is controlled face up on my side of the field, or maybe it just needs to be on the field, whichever. Select a face up monster the opponent controls and switch the position. Now, the reason I love this is goat format meant that your goats weren't blocking. They were just going to be in attack mode. It was going to hit for the quick 2K. Same thing with like Spear Soldier back then. Piercing, same stats. It was a quick 2K. In Reaper format, people were using Spirit Reaper. You poke with Spear Soldier first in case it is Reaper. You get your piercing off. Then because it was Reaper, you target Reaper with this effect. You're going to get a battle replay because what's going to happen is he was targeted by an effect. The effect resolved, and that's all happening before the damage step. So what's going to happen is the Reaper gets destroyed by its own effect, and then the Assailant was able to like retarget an attack because it missed its attack because the number of monsters on the opponent's side of the field changed. So again, Gravekeeper's Assailant is like a really good sneak tool. Good card, great card. Next up, we're going to be running a full play set of the Commandant. Now, again, just real quick, Commandant will get up to 2100 with Valley. The one thing to mention about Commandant is the only, and this still holds true today, the only Gravekeeper named card that is Earth attribute instead of Dark. And again, I always kind of, was questioned whether or not this was just like a misprint on their part, or if they meant it because he was a field spell searcher. So again, even though the terraforming is not limited in this time period, I play the 3 Commandants because I'd much rather have a terraforming I can summon. And again, so we do not run terraforming in the spells. It frees up a zone there, and we get 3 of these guys. Another great card for us would be the Gravekeeper's Descendant. Again, this was a huge tech, and you guys saw in the couple of decks that were using some Gravekeepers, whether they were, I think it was the Synchro Cat and or the Gravekeeper Burn from the SJC Edison. They pretty much ran this homeboy at 1. Again, since we're going to be running Valley, he's going to be able to buff himself to a 2,000 by 1,700 point stats. which makes him a little more survivable. And still has all the greatness of his effects. So again, you can tribute a face-up Gravekeeper's monster that you control except for this card to destroy a card the opponent controls. So again, it's still going to be just as devastating. We still get as much spot destruction. But we kind of rein it in a little bit. We don't need to do all the craziness. I do have 2 copies of Guard in here for the flip bounce. Again, Stardust Dragon, this is like its peak hunting territory. This is when Stardust is an apex predator. Sometimes you just need to bounce something. You need to get away from the word destroy a little bit. And again, this is going to help in that effort. And then our last monster, we're going to run 3 of Spy. Because again, Spy is just beautiful. She's always been beautiful. Always helped us get that extra monster card. Jumps up to 1700 attack when Valley is present. The crazy thing is this card goes up to 2500 defense. Again, the guard would jump from 1900 defense to 24. This means that these 2 cards are blocking monarchs, and even in the case of Spy, straight up blocking a base Stardust Dragon. While still being able to search out for friends and then go ahead and get into loops. And it's brilliant. This deck is just wonderful. Next up will be the spells. Now, this is going to look weird and it's going to feel weird. But back then, Allure was at 1. So 1 copy Allure. Again, every monster in the main deck, save for Commandant, is a target. And since it's a 1 of, it's just kind of text splash. It's just not going to affect the game too much. Another great card, we're going to be using triple Book of Moon. And to this point, and I probably should have set this up a little bit better. We've got a little Stardust over here for you guys. And I just want to show you how fast Stardust can be taken out. See, Stardust needs to be face up to utilize its effect. Let's see if we can get that to go ahead and zoom. The effect that destroys cards, whatever. It has to be face up to tribute itself. If we were to book this guy, you could easily take care of him with the Descendant. Commandant actually smashes through with the 2100 attack. If you wanted to, Gale could be a quick summon to shrink, then it's 1250. Then literally everybody, when the field spell is up, gets a crack at this boy. But again, we can just situationally shut his effect off by putting him face down. And since he is one of the tougher monsters of the time period, obviously this same thing is going to apply to every other card of a similar build. So again, Book of Moon, very good. I'm looking at the next card. 1 copy Brain Control, because sometimes you don't want to get rid of them. Sometimes you want to use them. Maybe you think your opponent's got that Mirror Force face down. Let me get that. Let me borrow that Stardust Dragon. I'll take your monster off the field. I'll tribute it to go ahead and negate the destruction. But first, let me attack with your guy. So again, Brain Control is really good. And I'm going to have Mind Control in here in a second as well. These are 2 ways for us to get other tuners to use for our synchro plays. I do use Heavy Storm in the main. There's the Mind Control. Single MST. And just real quick, let's talk about Necrovalley. Now, is any one of these more original than the others? These are all Dark Revelation 1s. So as long as this card remains on the field, negate the effects of spell, trap, and monster effects that affect a card or card in the graveyard. Neither player can remove cards in the graveyards from play. As long as this card remains on the field, increase the attack and defense of all monsters that include Gravekeeper in the name by 500. What does this mean? It means nobody can banish cards. Chaos Sorcerer is not going to be a thing. You may summon your Dark Armed Dragon. However, Dark Armed Dragon himself will not be able to banish cards in order to sucker punch my stuff. If you were to play a Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer and attack me directly or do some battle damage, you could not, in fact, banish anything out of my discard pile. Cards with regenerative effects like Call of the Haunted, Monster Reborn, which was banned at the time, or insert a handful of other things that would bring stuff back. Pot of Avarice tries to send them back into the deck. None of these effects work because Necrovalley basically states we are keeping things dead that are supposed to be dead. It's like the whole Gravekeeper aesthetic. And again, this card actually gets more powerful the further in time you go, as each errata does more and more stuff. I do remember originally I would pair this off with the Curse of Anubis, and the reason was couple of effects that Necrovalley could not stop were things like Sangan, because Sangan is activating in the graveyard and resolving in the graveyard, but not affecting cards in the graveyard. Same thing with like Mystic Tomato, or Tomato, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I'd like to be pretentious, so I say Tomato. And what that means is um, the character, when destroyed by battle, can still go ahead and special summon a same attribute target to replace itself, or adding a card from the deck to the hand. Anubis would actually stop those types of effects. So again, a little bit of history there. Next and last spell card that we're gonna run: 2 copies Royal Tribute. You guys could always socket the 3rd in the side deck. Great card. Activate this while Necrovalley is active. All players discard all monsters in their hands to the grave. The brilliance behind this card is Necrovalley's on the field. You can't get those cards back. The only way this backfires against you is if you're playing against Dark World, and you're going to know pretty quickly if you're playing against Dark World, so you probably won't activate it. That said, Dark World was not that prevalent during this time period. It was around. It could have been played. This saw more play time than DW. Just go ahead and enjoy it. And again, it's always about eliminating threats. The other ruling that used to go along with this was if your opponent was like, well, I don't have any, well, they have to reveal their hand, as do you. It's a bit of a respect move there. It's cherry picking rules. It's about being fair. You don't have a third party that can go, yeah, that's all their monsters. So again, the confirmation portion of it does give you a quick sneak peek at the opponent's hand. Is it fair? Maybe, maybe not, but that's just how it was played then. Next up, we're going to get into the trap cards. So first up, double bottomless trapple, because again, Dark World was still sort of a thing once in a while, but there were other cards that we would want to get rid of. Essentially anything that isn't Stardust, or anything when Stardust is not around. This is a quick way to get out of it. We're going to go with 3-dimensional prisons. The reason we want 3, Necrovalley is giving all of our characters a sizable buff. This means that the weakest of our cards from within the archetype, which is the guard, is now 15. So in order to crack him, you need to be at least more than that. So bottomless, and anything around the 2K level, which becomes like almost the new standard, can catch a DP, as can and will Stardust Dragon. Another good card that I'm a big fan of, Magician's Circle. You don't see a lot of this being talked about. So this card came out as part of a video game promotional with the Nightmare Troubadour, and just a beautiful old card. You activate this when a spellcaster declares an attack, and it doesn't have to be your own, but it helps that we're running a deck full of them. Each player selects a spellcaster from their deck with an attack of 2K or less, and special summons it in face-up attack on their side of the field. So it is one of those do as much as you can effects. If your opponent does not play spellcasters at all, you get a summon and they don't. There we go. It's just how it works. Previously, Magician of Faith and Tsukuyomi were very commonplace. Tsukuyomi could not be special summoned. So that would be an instance of like, yeah, I've got a spellcaster that fits, but it can't be played. So if they had to choose between those two, then the Magician of Faith was number 1 negated because it's summoned in attack mode. And then 2, you now know that there are only other spellcasters as Tsukuyomi waiting for you, so you can deal with that when it gets summoned. Other cool things that you could do with this, obviously if we were going to play something more spell countery, we could utilize Magician's Circle in combination with cards from Magician's Force, like Magical Marionette, I believe it was. Breaker's still not on the ban list. Breaker was still sort of tech here and there. This could draw out the opponent's Breaker without allowing it to get a spell counter. So for the most part, there was a lot of cool things you could do. And I want to say there were a couple Light Sworn cards too. I want to say Lumina and maybe Lila are both spellcaster types. And with Lumina at like 1 at this current time, Lumina would be a hard pass to be played. But again, it's only got like 1,000 attack points. It's very easy to run it over. And then knowing that your opponent can't bring it back because you've got Valley going on, Magician's Circle kind of hits hard. It's kind of good. The rest of our traps are pretty simple. We got a Mirror Force. We got a Solemn Judgment because we love to just say no. Once you've built up a pretty good board, you want to be able to call out your own sort of Stardust Dragon. And since Stardust Dragon is probably not coming back because of the Valley, this is a good way to just go ahead and protect the Valley. And then a single copy of the T-Dust Chute. And let me go back to the Starlight real quick. What I mean by that is, number one, this Stardust Dragon could not bring itself back because it was not properly played. It was special summoned instead of synchro summoned. And secondly, even though it targets itself, it is a resurrection from the graveyard, and I'm pretty sure Necrovalley would still just lock him in there. So you can like play around with that however you want. I don't know. Sorry, he gets banished. So yeah, that forget what I said. These ones wouldn't come back anyway, so it's no harm, no foul. I just misspoke. And T-Dust Chute again, we're just trying to rip out our opponent's options. If you guys want to make this a 40-card deck, literally take any one of your choice. I would probably take out the Dust Chute at this point. But this is all good stuff. You do want a heavy back row. It's fun. If you guys give me a moment, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the field. I'll get you guys the extra deck, and I'll talk a little bit about side options. So just one moment, my friends. All right, and I'm back slightly out of focus, and I sort of just swatted the camera for almost no reason, just as I was bringing us back. But I've got what I said I'd get. So, starting the extra deck, it's going to be 15 cards. I do have 2 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragons. Obviously, you're going to side some Cyber Dragons. You're not going to wait for your opponent to just be playing Machina Gadgets and Cyber Dragon. Single Ally of Justice Catastor will do it. Single Ancient Fairy Dragon will do it. Again, this works even better because we have a field spell and the extra summons would be nice. B-Rose at 1. Armor Master because we're using Gale. Brio because it's great. Colossal Fighter as our Dark Arm check. Goyo as our, basic get backs and pulls and stuff. Another great way to get those tuners from our opponent's side of the field to our side of the field. Mistworm, because I like having something on 9. 1 Red Dragon Arcfiend, because he's just good at board breaking. 2 copies of Stardust Dragon to match our 2 copies of Starlight Road. Our single copy of X-Saber Urbellum. Because honestly, I used to love 7 stars, and again, he works very similar to T-Dust Chute. Whenever this guy inflicts battle damage, if the opponent has 4 more cards in their hand, we get to place a random card back on the top of their deck. And I promise you that is so much more important than you think. And then the last card, and this is the optional card. This is the guy I would swap out. So right now it is Thought Ruler Arcfiend, because when I build my own decks, I tend not to rely on going, hey, well, you should play this instead. I'm saying this is a playable deck as is. This is way better if you change him into Arcanite Magician. Again, Arcanite is a 7-star. What happens is when it is Synchro Summon, it gains 2 spell counters. It can hold any amount of spell counters. It gains 1,000 attack per spell counter. It starts at 400. 2 spell counters equals 24. And then you can remove spell counters from him to destroy cards on the field. Again, this lowers his attack value, but hey, it doesn't matter. Our dude's growing up. He's blowing things up. It's awesome. And that's what I would do. I am going to, in the near future, obtain an Arcanite Magician. Because, again, it's just a fun thing. Another card I failed to mention during the Magician's Circle that everybody was sort of running a one of right now was the Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk at 4 stars would immediately put itself in attack mode. Well, it doesn't matter. It puts itself in attack mode because it was, you know what, let me grab a Summoner Monk because it's literally sitting here on the table next to me. He didn't quite make the cut when we were building. When normal or flip summoned, change to defense. So he's not going to be able to change himself to defense mode on the Magician Circle, and he's going to come out at 800 in attack mode. This guy is a very easy target. It is low-hanging fruit, and again, a lot of players are going to be playing it. So if you're looking to trap something spectacularly, he's going to fit the bill. Again, Arcanite Magician would be my 15th card, not a Thought Ruler Arcfiend normally. Everything here is going to be subjective. You play it how you want. I would put a couple creature swaps in the side deck. The creature swap idea is mostly like you flip guard, you bounce something, you want to move guard over there and take the other card because it's good. You want to take the choice away from the opponent, so I would put a couple creature swaps in there. Like a Lightning Vortex would be great. 2 cards I think needed some screen time. One is Phoenix Wingwind Blast. This thing is amazing. Discard a card, target a card the opponent controls, return it to the top of their deck. If this is an extra deck monster, like, I don't know, there's Stardust Dragon. Good, target him, spin him, he's in the extra deck, and we don't have to worry about him. Plus, if we have the extra copies of Commandant, or we have extra copies of Valley in our hand, this helps us by being allowed to discard down and not be holding extra cards for no reason. I love this card for one other reason. It is the fact that there is no activation requirement. The requirement is I have to be able to discard a card, and I have to be able to activate his Spell Speed 2 card, which is generally all of the time. So again, my opponent summons something I don't like. Fine, spin it, whatever. Doesn't matter. The other one, Rite of Spirits. I didn't feel like I needed to main it. This has always felt like more of a side deck card for them. All this is select a monster in your graveyard that includes Gravekeeper in the name and special summon it in either attack or defense. The activation in effect is not affected by Necrovalley. So this is archetype resurrection that you can do when Valley's active. So again, it's good for the side. If you feel like you need to be a little more aggressive against your opponent, it's a perfect complement. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. This is probably going to be the first of many little variants I'll build of my Gravekeepers, seeing as they're one of my favorite archetypes back then. I'm not sure how next week's going to work out, considering we're going to have the Speed Duel Midterm of Destruction. I know everybody's excited to see me get back into some Speed Duel content, but there's another deck that meant a lot to me in this time period that I want to build my version of, and it was the Six Samurai. And one of the things I noticed was this guy was not in the historic build, which is crazy because he was in Strike of Neos. I'm pretty sure that's the same set that we got our Grandmaster in. And this guy was pretty influential. At least to me, he was. So, if you guys are interested in seeing that, let me know down in the comments. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, try to support us. It's as easy as a like, comment, sub. If you want to go the distance on it, though, you can share us with your friends or even check out the Buy Me a Coffee link below. Anything that you do with that is appreciated but unnecessary. I will make these videos anyway because it is fun for me. I'm thinking about adding one more format back. I want to know if you guys want more GOAT format stuff, or if you guys want domain format stuff, or if you guys want my format that I'm currently building. I mean, you guys are eventually going to get that anyway. But I just want to know like what kind of timeline we're looking at. So I'd like to be able to do Speed Duel, Edison format, and something else every week. This way everything feels like there's something for everybody on the channel. You guys let me know. I'm going to get out of here. I think this Wednesday, I think we had enough likes on the video maybe to go in and do the extra opening instead of just doing it off screen. See if we get the rest of these here dice. I'm guessing since the online website showed the one that the box didn't, we're also going to be looking for the Judgment Dragon as well as, I don't remember the other two. But we'll see about that, all right? For now, you guys do me one favor and one favor only. Go out, enjoy your day, enjoy the week. I'll see you guys next time. Later.